welcome back and to this next episode on the Blue Mark II 16 valve Golf. Just finished off the last one and eventually managed to get this rear subframe back up. And so now what I'm going to tackle is putting the brakes back on, the back brakes, and trying to connect everything up and hope that it still works. And then after we've done that, we can have a look at the fuel pump, because if you remember, that was leaking. So yeah, we'll crack on with the brakes and see how far we get with that. Then we'll have a look at this fuel pump, and yeah, I really need to knuckle down and get this done and get it in for an MOT so I can get started on the bodywork. I was having a wee look over it last night, just kind of like, do I really need to paint the whole car? And I mean, actually I don't, because it's like 32 years old and it's really clean for its age. But yeah, I have unfortunately, I just need to try and make everything look perfect as I can. So I'll stop waffling on and we'll get started on this side. Hopefully it'll be easier side because I didn't have to sacrifice the brake pipe. So we'll have a go and see what happens. Okay, so we're onto the brake pipes on the other side. I had what I thought might have been a little bit of a brainwave to just flare the end on this other one, but so basically just flare the end of the pipe that kind of got a bit mangled rather than making up a whole new pipe. But it wasn't really flaring that well, so which might be because I've not done it before, but I did grab some new pipe and tried flaring that, and that seemed to flare quite easily. So that's good. So basically I've just kind of roughly kind of copied the this pipe here. He says, yeah, I made it a bit longer because obviously we've lost a little bit of this pipe just with the end getting twisted off, and also with me having an attempt at flaring it. So that should be plenty long enough, I hope. And so what I'm going to do now is just take the other end off, this end, just to make sure that it's the same kind of flare. And then I need to put the fittings, these wee fittings, onto the pipe obviously before I finish it, otherwise that'll be quite annoying because it'll be a wasted bit of pipe. So basically I'm just going to try and put those fittings on, flare the other end, and then we can try hooking it up and seeing if it all fits okay. And then of course once I see that it all fits okay, I'm gonna put some fluid in the system, and then we'll put it under pressure and just make sure that there's no leaks anywhere. And if there's no leaks, then I can go ahead and just bleed all the brakes. And I know that you're supposed to start with the one furthest away from the reservoir first, so that conveniently is the side that we're working on. So yeah, I'll have a go at that, and we can see what happens. So the time lapse that you saw just before this was from pretty early this morning. I did have the car booked in for an MOT today, which I think I booked it in a couple of days ago. Didn't really get as much done on it the last couple of days as I'd hoped. So was trying to put a shift in this morning to get it done. It was meant to be going in at 2, but I had an MMA lesson at 12, so I only really had this morning. So anyway, I got the pipe on the brakes. I managed to get that on yesterday, brake pipe, and starting to change the fuel pump. It started off okay, but it went downhill after the first couple of screws. There's only 3 screws. The first 2 came out not too bad, but the third one is still not out. And unfortunately, it kind of, well, I think when I was trying to undo the bolt on the end of the pump, it kind of, I twisted the line a little bit too much, so it's also that's now leaking. So yeah, no MOT today. I've ordered a new pipe. Well, it comes as a kit, so it's the pipe that goes from the fuel pump to the reservoir accumulator, and it also comes with one that goes from the filter to the accumulator, I believe. So once that comes, then that's great. We can resolve that. And I wasn't going to take the fuel filter off before the MOT, just in case I had problems. But now I can do that with confidence, knowing that, you know, if the cable's no good, if the pipe's no good, then, you know, I can just replace it. The problem is, I guess, when, you know, pipes have been sitting in a position for so long, and, you know, they're getting covered in water and they get corroded, and you know, they're fine if you leave them as they are, but as soon as you start to move them, then, you know, they can crack. So anyway, I'll let you see what it's looking like just now. And basically what I'm going to do is just try again to get the bolt off it's a banjo bolt on the bottom of on the end of the fuel pump, because if I can get that line out of the way, I might have a little bit more room to try different options on that screw. I tried something that was a little bit shady, which was using the air saw to try and cut more of a slot in the screw so that I could you know, just get a flathead in there. That was after trying loads of the screw bits that are designed for strip screws and stuff, which I've never had any success with yet. And the problem as well is that the housing that it goes into is plastic, and you can't get them anymore. And the only one that I've ever seen is somebody's reproed a metal version of it, but it's like 450 quid or something. So I definitely don't want to break that, which means, you know, I don't want to put too much pressure on it. So you couldn't use an impact driver or anything, because it's probably too much force. And obviously I can't just heat it up with the induction heat tool, which is my usual go-to thing, because you kind of got to be careful not to ignite petrol. It was a bit sketchy cutting the screw head with the air saw, but I was kind of spraying it with water at the same time. So yeah, hopefully getting that pipe out of the way will give me some more options for getting that screw out. You know, maybe trying to get vice grips on the side, just kind of grab the head of it and turn it. And worst case scenario, you know, I'm just gonna have to drill it out. So but yeah, we'll see how we go on. Anyway, I'll stop waffling. I'll let you see what I'm talking about, and we'll fire back onto time lapse, and I'm going to try my damnedest to get the rest of the last screw out and get the pipe off the end of the pump as well. So I've just kind of put that on and just stuck a couple of cable ties on there just now. That's not permanent, that was just to make sure it was all sitting, or would sit as it should be. There is a clip there, but the clips are a little bit broken, so they're not really doing much. And if I can just grab a light. Yeah, so you can see it's leaking really good now, which is not surprising. So the screw on the left and the one on the top came out not too bad. But this one here, move the light, yeah, that one there up on the right, that doesn't want to move. The heads are really corroded, unsurprisingly. And it was that pipe there, which actually, to be fair, does look pretty rusty. When I was trying to undo that bolt, this one here, I just saw a wee spray of fuel coming out of the pipe, and I was like, yeah, that wasn't meant to happen. So probably a good thing to replace it anyway. And I'm just hoping that when I take the pipe, obviously I need to undo the pipe at the other end, which is onto the fuel accumulator. So I'm just hoping that I don't run into any problems when I do that. So I don't really want to have to buy an accumulator as well. The Bosch one's nearly 300 quid, so that's not ideal. But anyway, that's where we are just now. So we'll fire back onto time lapse, and I will persevere with this and just do as much as I can. I probably will try and get the other end of it off the accumulator so that it's basically just sitting ready for the new bits to go on when they arrive, and then I'll scoot round to the offside front, driver's side, and just have a go at that CV boot and things like that. And then we can have a go at bleeding the brakes, make sure they're okay, and also looking at the hazard warning lights as well, although it does mean powering up the battery, but yeah, we'll see. Okay, I'll stop waffling and crack on. That was a bit of an ordeal. I tried about 600 different ways of getting the screw out, and it really didn't want to come out. I was going to show you the housing, but it's all covered in petrol. Yeah, so basically just a case of trying to saw it, drill it, tried the broken screw extractor again, and it actually started to turn until it broke off the tool. So anytime I've used them, that's kind of what's happened, and that was just doing it by hand, not with a drill. So I guess maybe it's not the best set of them, because I think in theory it could be quite good. Yeah, so I mean, pretty much what I ended up doing was actually drilling through the plastic around the screws. So obviously there's like the plastic part of the fuel pump and the screw hole in it, and if you can't get the screw out, then the other option is to cut away what the screw is holding in, which wasn't very easy because what it's joined onto is plastic as well. So it was quite sketchy, but thankfully I managed to get it off without damaging the housing, so that's great. I think I'm a little bit high on petrol fumes. Did a little bit of work off camera yesterday. I was basically just tidying the garage, to be honest, because it was a riot, and then I decided to pop the wheel off on the offside front, and try to take the hub off to get to the CV boot, but kind of run into some trouble with the axle nut. It doesn't really want to come off, so I think what I'm going to have to try and do is put put the wheel back on and drop the car down so the wheels got traction with the floor, and then basically try to put a long bar kind of sitting on an axle stand to keep it steady, and then just like try and stand on it. It's really stuck. So I tried heating it up like a good few times. I did absolutely douse it in penetrating fluid last night, but I'm not sure if that's going to really make a huge difference or not. I guess we'll find out. So anyway, I'll stick it on time lapse, and we'll get cracking again with this. Try and get the hub off, try and get the CV boot done. It's going to be a couple of days before everything I need for the fuel system comes, so it'd be really good to get everything else buttoned up before then, so we can maybe have a look at the indicator issue once we've done this. But I'll stop waffling and we can get cracking. Well, I had a bit of oh, it's cold now. I had a bit of a battle with the axle nut, as you hopefully could see from the time lapse. Had to drop the car right down and then try to put something behind and in front of the wheels because it kept slipping. Sorry, that's the fan rattling. And I think I broke the forgotten what it's called. I think I broke one of the bars anyway, trying to get it off. Took a good few attempts, and eventually managed to get it off just by jumping around on it enough. But the angle that the bar was sitting at when it was like parallel, it was, when I stood on it, it was just like bending and hitting the floor. So I had to have it like at this kind of angle and then try and somehow stand on top of it, which is not really that easy. I've got dodgy knees, I'm waiting on MRI results, and my calves are absolutely destroyed just now. I'm struggling to walk from doing MMA, so it was interesting, but I got it off, so that was awesome. And also managed to get the CV boot off and stick the new one on. It's the first time I've done one of them. So it's pretty messy, but pretty simple, so that's great. So I'll let you have a look at what I'm doing just now, and then I'll put it back on time lapse. And I'm basically just gonna, I need to put the other clip on the CV boot, the inner one, not the inner boot, but the inner clip, and build back up what I've taken off, and then just change the brakes, the brake pads, put it back together. And then I think the next thing to do will probably be to refill the system with brake fluid and bleed it, and hopefully see if my pipe at the back is holding pressure okay, and see if we can get some good feedback from the brake pedal, because if we do, then that's all worked out great, so that would be ideal. So yeah, I'll crack on just now, and we can see how it goes. But fingers crossed that building this back up is pretty straightforward, and fingers crossed that the brake system bleeds up okay. I bought I'll show you. I bought this device that puts pressure into the system. So basically you can connect it to an airline, I think, and I think, anyway, I'll have a proper look at it, but basically it puts pressure into the, oh no, it doesn't go into the airline, you pump it up. This bit here has an attachment, I guess, and you put that onto the top of the reservoir, and you fill this with brake fluid, or put quite a lot of brake fluid in it anyway, and basically it just means that it's putting pressure into that, like the top part of the system, the reservoir, and making sure there's plenty of fluid in it. And then in theory, it should be just a case of opening the bleeders on each of the calipers, and that should allow the fluid through. I do have another little pump thing for drawing the fluid through, which I might have to use as well, but hopefully this should just be enough to force it through. And obviously I don't want to put too much pressure on it because I don't want to burst any seals or anything. But anyway, I'll stop waffling and we'll get cracked on. Well, there's good news and bad news. The good news is that my brake pipe stood up to possibly what was too much pressure put through it, but it didn't fail, so that's good. And I managed to get the fluid coming through with no air bubbles, which is also good. The only thing that's not so good is there's quite a lot of brake fluid underneath the car. And it's not really very easy to see where it's coming from underneath. It's just kind of obviously streaming down, which is not really what you want. But I think it's maybe somewhere around about the reservoir stroke brake servo stroke pipes around there. I'll let you have a look, but tomorrow I'm basically going to have to take some stuff off, take part of the intake pipes off and stuff, just so I can get a look and try and figure out where it's coming from. So I'm not sure whether maybe I put too much pressure with the automatic brake bleeder. It's only the second time I've bled brakes, and it's the first time I've used one of them. So there was kind of like a graph on it, and I was way below what it was saying was too much, but it may still have been too much, or possibly, that there was just a weak link and it was going to burst at some point, and in which case it's good that it burst then and not when I or somebody else was driving it. But anyway, I'll let you have a look, and we'll see what it's looking like. Okay, I think it's good news because I've had a good look around and I couldn't see any evidence of leaks. So what I did was I put some pressure onto the system again with the brake bleeder, the one that I used before, and the only place I can see fluid coming out of, and I used the mirror and everything to check underneath, the only place I could see the fluid coming out of was actually the top of where the connection goes onto the reservoir. So it looks like I might have had a lucky escape, and I've pumped it up quite a lot, and it looks like it's just been leaking out there and running down underneath. So that's really good news. I'm not counting my chickens yet, because sometimes you might think it's something and then it turns out that actually it's something else. But there's good pressure on the brake pedal, so that's obviously a good sign. And so I think what I'm going to do is I'll put the intake pipes back on and build it back up, and obviously I'm going to have a really good check over it and just try you know, braking up and down the driveway before I consider taking it on the road or anything. Probably get it back up on the ramps again, double check again, make sure there's no leaks. Obviously brakes are not something you want to mess around with. So, but I think I've maybe had a lucky escape, so it's good to have something work out well, because there's always lots of challenges when you're working on cars. Then we can lift it up and shoot around and have a look at the fuel system, because hopefully everything that we need is there. And if it's not too much of a mission to do that, then we can maybe get on to the hazards as well, which might actually mean that it's pretty much ready to go back in for an MOT. But fingers crossed, this is Friday, so fingers crossed that worst case scenario it's ready by Monday, which doesn't mean I'll get it in then, but that would be awesome. Thanks for watching another episode, guys. Niall's decided to make a wee appearance in this end of it. Yeah, I've kind of got carried away with filming and forgotten about intros and outros, so forgive me for just adding it on the end. I hope you enjoyed that, and if you haven't already, then please subscribe to the channel. It's absolutely free and it would really help me out. And if you do subscribe before the end of November, then you could win £500 in cash, which I'll be delivering to somebody on the 1st of December.